So a very good evening to everyone present here, our esteemed jury panel, Architect Shamla and Architect Himanshu. All the NASA Council members are finalists who really done some good work to get here, and all the audience watching this jury session live. So welcome everyone, and hope we have an engaging session as we move further. So let me just quickly introduce to you to Ethos and what all we are up to. And it also kind of lays the background of why Ethos Trophy and what we're trying to do through our different initiatives. Sorry. So we kind of learned that Ethos Trophy has, Ethos has been trying to be the wind beneath the minds of young students of architecture and design since 2002. And one small feather in our cap is the NASA Ethos Trophy, which we've been doing over the last few years in association with this prestigious body of architecture students across the country. So Ethos Trophy is different from all the other trophies in NASA from the point of view that most trophies, focus on team effort and group work, where the college represents themselves and puts the best foot forward. Whereas an Ethos Trophy, we are trying to focus on the individual ethos, sensitivities, and value systems, aiming to condition architecture students as responsible future professionals, contributing to a constructive society. The initiative celebrates not only the academic work, but also gives weightage to extracurricular work that the students pursue as part of their academic journey in the arts course. So just an overview of the timeline for the jury members, that the brief was released around mid of November, and the students were able to send in their entries until the end of January, post which we collated them and sent you the first set of entries, the first round of entries, and received your respective rankings. And today we are going to see the top 5 entries that have made it to the finals, putting together the ranks received by the jury panel. So we are at stage 2 and the finale today. This competition was open. Sorry? All good? Yeah. The competition was open to all undergraduate students and recent graduates because they were showing their thesis work. Of course, it was open only to colleges affiliated to NASA and who are part of, the overall membership. We received 371 registrations, highest from the first and second year. So you can see the most enthusiastic lot was the second year, which we'll be viewing today, with a total of 229 submissions. And again, second year sent in the most. So this was the evaluation criteria also mentioned in the brief and the evaluation sheet shared with you. So you can see that we are not looking at only the end product, but the process, their co-curricular activities, ancillary and allied skills, articulation, and much more, so it's much more than just what they did academically. Again, we are looking at tangibles and intangibles. Tangibles is the easier part because that's the most visually seen part as they present. But intangibles is when we are trying to see how sensitively somebody has designed, how they've suited to the context, the environment, the socioeconomic factors, the community, the expression through the choice of materials, colors, composition, and the values that are hidden behind the design. So that was about the judging criteria. So we'll be giving out one up to 2 citations per year. So we'll be looking at the second year category, as you all know. The winning participants will receive a special certificate, and they'll be eligible for a rolling trophy, depending on the maximum number of participants come from which unit, that is which college, and so on. So just to be transparent and ensure that there's no bias and there's like a random sequencing, we used a tool online which works just like tossing a coin to figure out which of the top 5 student presents first and second. I'm trying to play this, but it's problematic. Yeah. So yeah, we just quickly did a Wheel of Fortune. I'm skipping through the video since we are short of time, and that's how we arrived at this sequence. So now we know the agenda of the day. And introducing our honorable jury panel now. Architect Shamla Prabhu, thank you for joining in and giving in your time for shortlisting the entries. She's an alumnus of MSU Baroda and has over 25 years of experience in running her own firm out of Bangalore at the moment. Her projects include high-end bungalows, penthouses, corporate offices, retail showrooms, and much more. She's been part of the managing committee of Triple IB for over 2 decades. Including her tenure as a chairperson of the Bangalore Regional Chapter for 2 years from 2017 to 19. She is now a member of the National Executive Committee and has also initiated a company called Triyantrika, a platform to bring designers and artisans to work together to sustain craft. Thank you so much for joining in. Architect Himanshu Suri from Chandigarh completed his BArch in 2009 and is currently working as an architect with his firm Architect Suri and Associates in Chandigarh. He's won several awards, like securing the 3rd position in the National Award Competition for Best Innovative Use of Steel in Architecture, Birla White Zonal Award for Design of a Meditation Center, Design and Publication of Parikrama College's annual newsletter, Ultratech Aditya Birla Special Award in Dream Home category, and so much more. So thank you, Architect Himanshu Suri, for joining in. I hope you'll enjoy the jury session as we proceed further. That's going to be the agenda for the day. So we are in the second part of the jury today, starting at 6. I know we are a little bit delayed, hope to catch up as we go along. We have 5 presentations in the order: 67, 361, 123, 19, 318. Following which we'll have a jury deliberation privately without any of the students and arrive at the results, which will be announced during the annual NASA convention, possibly in the coming weeks. Just a little note for all the finalists: at the 8th minute, you will hear a little beep or buzzer sound, which is a warning for you that you have only 2 minutes left to finish your presentation, and hope you've practiced enough to culminate in the given time. And we'll have a Q&A round after every presentation with the jury panel. So with that, and not wasting any more time, I invite entry number 67 to come on stage, share your screen, and begin the presentation right away.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes. You can go full screen.
So, good evening, jurors. I'll be presenting my architecture design portfolio for my second year, titled My Evolution, Endeavors and Errors, which sums up my learnings from second year of architecture school, which I spent in the new normal. So to begin with, this is my first project from my 4th semester, titled Pathshala, a traditional future for a floating community. The brief was to design a learning space in Loktak Lake, Manipur. The community living in the middle of this lake is known as Path, and they live on floating islands in the middle of the lake. But due to increasing water levels, increased political tensions, etc., their existence is in threat. In an extensive site analysis, I learned about their unique culture, nature, and traditions. I was lucky enough to have been able to contact a lot of locals even during the height of the pandemic, which kind of helped me understand this isolated and overlooked community even better. So though they have been living here for almost 200 years, they face intense fears of displacement due to a lot of political threats and water level rise due to the construction of dams, etc. So hence my main aim with this design was to look at architecture as a catalyst to preserve the culture of a dying community and help it move into the future. So uh, so the intangible aspects of the community were studied as the identity of the community lies with its traditions and culture. So the intangible aspects were then translated into tangible architecture spaces and experiences that were amalgamated into the school. For example, the oral traditions of these communities are very important. So instead of providing a conventional library, I provided a human library where the young children can learn from the elderly and take these learnings ahead. Or I also looked at the school beyond just a learning space as a space where the community could gather, have, say, weekly markets, or have their cultural festivals. Lastly, the most important part of designing this school was the structure of the school. So the school was perceived as a floating structure with the floating barrels bound underneath, and the rest of the structure was constructed using bamboo. So bamboo is a vernacular material used in this area, and I had one of the greatest times of my life researching and learning about bamboo construction and design, and uh, and creating an overall structure that was not conventional in any form, but rather floating on the lake. So overall, this project was an exciting opportunity that taught me how to respond to a culture, how to respond to a context, and how to respond to a community in a way that respects ecology, tradition, and culture while also uplifting them. So my second project was to design a community space. For this, I chose the park near my house, a park which I had grown up playing in. So, as a task for designing for a community that was my own, I set out interviewing and observing the activities that people did in this place. So, what I concluded from talking to a lot of my neighbors and everybody else was that the people did not really identify with the physical boundaries of the space. Rather, most people defined it as the experiences they had in the space, the time they spent playing in that space, the time they spent with their friends sitting around, and much more. So then what I came up with a solution for enlivening this public space was creating a more activated environment. So what was an activated environment? So the activated environment created here would attract more people out of their homes and come into the space. It would be a healthy social settings where people of all age groups and gender would feel secure, and ultimately it would be a unique identity for my neighborhood. So, what I started out with doing was creating an identity in which I envisioned a meandering bridge that would come up to the tree near, where the people could really reach to the tree and pick up and pluck the oranges with themselves, with their own hands. Next, to create a more healthy and secure social settings, I ensured that all the spaces and functions looked onto each other so that the parents have an eye on their kids playing, or rather, everybody has an eye on each other, making it a more secure communal space where everybody could be together. The spaces are made more interactive in the sense that they are more malleable to the members of the neighborhood, helping them use them as they want. So there is a drawing street provided where the children or the people are not limited by what is provided. They can draw things and create their own spaces within this area to use. Then there is also sand pits and rock climbing wall, which also encourage people to creatively explore themselves. So my main aim or my main learning was from this experience uh, was that uh, architecture and experiences are not mutually exclusive but rather work cohesively together. And what I ultimately designed was a newer experience for everyday park to offer more than just temporary relief to the neighborhood, but memories that will last a lifetime. So for our second year allied design, we studied interior design, and one of our projects was designing a beachside cafe to the theme we chose. So the location of this cafe was in the Fort Precinct of Bombay. Uh, so so the former British colony shows a reminiscent of architecture of that era. So I chose the cafe to reflect the same. I decided to channel this style into creating a Victorian era inspired cafe that was a modern take on the gentleman's club. The main theme of these cafes was to show opulence, and hence the idea of more is more was applied while selecting the materials and the color palette and the furniture. And in a quest to provide the most authentic experiences, I set out on the research on the kind of materials used in these spaces in that era. And it led me to finding the beauty of exposed brick, ornate chandeliers, intricately carved wooden columns, and beautifully designed furniture pieces from all around, with influences from all around the world. My learnings from the first year of timber construction also came in handy while designing this outdoor sitting area, where I designed a lean-to roof, providing the details for the same. So ultimately, this was a small attempt uh, at reimagining what a British era cafe looked like in my small design. So our semester 3 interior design brief was to design a studio apartment for an individual working in the financial sector and suffering from immense stress of his job and working conditions. So the interior of the home were supposed to be one that were calming after coming home from a long day of work. Hence, the design employs two main materials, that is exposed concrete and wood. uh, the two materials create a warm and welcoming environment and are easy to maintain as well. So the hassle of cleaning was eliminated. Ultimately, large windows were also given to bring in more natural light and ventilation. And the last unique touch was the fiddle leaf fig tree to create a sort of indoor courtyard that would provide a green relief to the user. The most interesting part was to learn, understand your client, their needs and their aspirations, and how well can those be translated into a design that an architect does. As an SKE, we also designed a shop window for a brand of our choosing. I designed for Tiffany & Co., a luxury jewelry company. The brand prides itself on products as their products being the best gifts you could ever receive. Hence, the display was made to look like an enlarged gift case with the brand signature colors. The newer part that I learned in this particular project was how temporary displays are created that involve very different materials and very different joineries to be done in order for them to be cheaper and dismantled easily. Lastly, coming to my technical learnings of the past year we were introduced to steel as a material and particularly taught about steel trusses. We were tasked with designing and detailing a steel truss, including gutters and mezzanine floors. This understanding of steel in my building construction really helped me, or really gave me a starting point to my understanding of construction of bamboo that I ultimately ended up using in my semester 4 design portfolio. Uh, so to sum up, a year of evolution, endeavors, and errors was most importantly the year of discovering my capabilities, a year that reoriented my ideas about becoming an architect. Coming out of this year into the next, now I have a treasure trove of learnings and experiences, each one distinct and timeless. The last year ignited in me a desire to learn more, know more, and be more than what I present today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, 67. That's how we're going to call you since we cannot reveal your name and college at this stage. Over to the jury panel for their comments and questions. Architect Shamla, would you like to go first? You're on mute.
Okay, I did go through it initially also. I mean, you're in the second year, right?
Yes, ma'am. This is the second year design portfolio.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, keeping that in mind, I think I can see that, there has been a lot of detailing, but, especially when it came to your floating structure, so I would probably like to see a little more detailing on the floating foundation. A little bit of more data study or case study, and
Yes,
and then worked on it so that one could get that feeling that one is thorough about. The foundation is the most important aspect of any structure. So I think when we recommend something, we say something, we have to be, doesn't matter which year, and that's the very bed on which the structure stands, that one has to be kind of very thorough about it. So
Yes.
when you want to, I mean, if I would have to like to look at it more like a client, then I think the client needs to be given a little more comfort, and confidence that this structure is going to stand. So probably a little more detailing over there would have.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Architect Himanshu, are you able to unmute yourself? Priyanka, do you want to just quickly call him and check on the site? Yeah. Any other comments from your side, Shamla?
No. I mean, I'm extremely impressed, and when I've seen all the entries, so that goes without saying that I can see that the kids these days are doing amazing work, and I know for sure that in future is going to do a lot of work. So, but since now I'm here as part of a jury and trying to, so I'm reserving my comments based on the overall thing. So I'm just giving him the highlights, but otherwise I think it's fabulous. I mean, the complete gamut of all his presentation is wonderful. There are absolutely no doubt on that.
Thank you. So just we'll wait 30 seconds in case Architect Himanshu is able to say or type something. Otherwise, we'll just respect the time and move on to the next presentation. So give us 30 seconds, 67. Yeah, and yeah.
So Himanshu sir does not have any comments, so maybe we can move ahead with the.
All right, super. So over to the next one. All the best, right? And we move on to 361.
Before 361 starts, 67, you may leave the room.
Can I start now?
Yeah.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Go full screen.
Yes. So good evening, everyone. My architectural journey till now is like I have shown everything which I have done. So moving to my first project, which is the Art Heart, the place where you can find yourself. It was a performing arts center, which I have to design in District Center Rohini, New Delhi. So after studying the whole site context, the basic conceptual idea where I derived was the 7 chakras of the body, where I have talked about, I have placed every blocks according to the chakras, like the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, and the heart chakra, and the third eye chakra. As for example, like we connect to the divinity with our third eye chakra. So exhibition gallery and libraries are the best way uh, to talk about that. So I have divided my design in basically I have divided in several blocks, which is the admin block, auditorium block, academic block, and co-curricular block. So the basic material which been used here is the ashcrete, which is a very good alternative of concrete. So with the moving on to the site plan, as I have mentioned, all the several blocks are there with lots of elemental design elements like the inverted sloping roof here, and the walking bridges, the open air theater, and the vertical fins. This is a compact design where I can talk about lot more. I can explore about lot more about the materials and the nature, and how we can connect the nature, as the walking bridges were there, as the green pavement areas were there. The sections has been provided to give the better view of the design. So basically this design was actually a place where you can meet your inner self, as it connects your heart to the design. My next design was about the origami school of butterflies. So whenever it was a school design, and whenever we think about a school design, we think about kids. And whenever we talk about kids, it's absolutely all the creatures which we found in nature. And I correlated butterfly with the kids. So how can we incorporate the butterfly in my design? So that's the reason why I chose the origami style of architecture. So basically making a roof with like butterflies, like as we know, all the butterflies are not butterflies, in sense the kids are not same. They are, some are more creative, some are creative in other areas, some are intelligent. So showing this, depicting the roof, and to complement the roof, I have provided also the origami structures here in outside the walls, as well as the internal area was designed in a manner that there is recreational areas and admin block and classrooms having furnitures which can convert into another kind of furnitures, so that it can be used in multifunctional ways. Next, moving on to the materials, because it is absolutely an abstract design, and according to me, design should always correlate with art. So to make this abstract design, the materials which I chose was the steel frame. So steel frame structures have been used, and the one of the most amazing material I have used is that the recycled plastic panels all over the steel structure, so that this design can actually save 95% of the greenhouse it can save the emission of 95% of greenhouse gases. As well as to make this design sustainable, this design also have the elements like it has solar power generation, grey water treatment, and rainwater harvesting, and a lot more other elements. And the main element which you can see in this particular abstract design is that this design has an origami wall complementing its origami roof, but as well as to maintain the ventilation inside the design, there is a jali facade with windows all over here. So last year we have studied steel trusses. So steel trusses, basically I have shown two kind of trusses. One is truss, which is one steel truss, and which is of 6 meter, and another one is of 12 meters. So we have been given the opportunity to design these steel trusses by using hand drafting method, so which I opted, and I designed it as a hand drafting method, and I have learned a lot about it. And this helped me to design my origami school, because this is the here I can study about the steel trusses, and I can use those things in my school as well as in my performing arts center, which has the auditorium which uses steel trusses. And at the end, like I think I am here today because my hobbies, and my hobbies encouraged me how to work for like in my architectural field. So my hobbies like sketching and photography encouraged me to be here and to cope up with the stress and all other factors. So thank you so much. I hope I make justice with your time.
Thanks, 361. You did well on time, bang on. So let's hear it from the jury members now.
Would Himanshu want to go first?
Yeah, let's see if he can speak. Architect Himanshu, can you try your audio? So I think Priyanka will help.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Oh, great. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good, we got a luck on that.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, any comments or questions that you have for the presentation that we just saw?
No, not really. Technically, and as far as the design language is concerned, there's a lot of work going into be concept driven about it and amalgamating the studies part onto it. This is pretty good. So no questions for now.
Okay. Shamla ma'am.
Okay. I would just like to make a couple of comments. One is, of course, very interesting structures, of course, and like you said that you're very fond of sketching and stuff like that, and therefore, you felt that the natural progression was to want to be an architect or a designer. Important thing out here is, of course, art is a huge part, but when it comes to structures, it's buildings. It is the structure, okay, and then there are all these utilities which one needs to bear in mind. So it's very nice. You're very young, so you've let go of your mind and figured out this origami roof and all that, but you will, it's time now since you're in the second year. So by the time you go to third year, you have to apply your mind about, it's all fine to have all these shapes and it's good to apply your mind that way. But think about all the other mundane issues that are going to cause, because ultimately any structure that you put up is created to give comfort to mankind, right? Whatever it is, if it's a home or if it's a commercial structure. So we can't have issues of leaking roofs. You need to conceal so many, there are so many things which go into a roof, right? Electrical, sometimes plumbing. So I hope all these things, one thinks about all these things when one is, it's nice to experiment with amazing shapes and, but not without, you cannot compromise even 1%. So first, it is all the utility and the solidity of a structure, that it's going to withstand all the climatic changes and all the other loads, wind load and what have you. And next comes all the magnificent shapes. So it's nice, you have a mind to create, I can see that, but don't let go of it. That's what makes a good architect. Beauty is one aspect, but the solidity and the science which goes behind. All right.
Thank you, jury members. Hope the finalists will take the constructive criticism in her stride. Thanks. You can leave the meeting, and we will now move on to the next presentation, the third presentation of this second year category. That's 1, 2, 3. Over to 1, 2, 3.
Should I present?
Yeah, sure. Share your screen and go all out.
Okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a second. So good evening, everyone, the jurors and everyone else out there. This is Prapti Mitra. First of all, thank you for having me on board. I'm hereby sharing my design portfolio. It is named Portfolio. The term means reflection. So the presentation will be a reflection on the works and on my personality. The contents include the Golden City, which is a documentation of the city of Jaisalmer. Building blocks is the design of a primary school. Under construction is the construction detailings, and creativity loading is the artworks that I've done. So going on to the next one. Coming on to the first part, this is the architectural documentation of the city of Jaisalmer, where I had tried to put in the data together of all the architectural elements of planning pattern and the form of the buildings, typical materials used, construction techniques, typical building patterns, and most importantly, the cooling strategies and techniques which are used all over Jaisalmer. This has been a great help for me in the design processing. So next, I'm coming on to the design. The primary school, which has a site, hypothetical site in the outskirts of the Jaisalmer city. The main design concept was to create such an environment and space that the students can feel comfortable despite of the harsh climate. Thus, a major part of the school was kept under open and semi-open spaces. Coming to the design development, the form of the design is developed by overlapping two circular blocks, creating open spaces between them. And the circular blocks in turn can provide with many advantages of like circulation and acoustic control, and even for better climate control. The site plan here shows different blocks. The activity spaces have been divided into 4 blocks. The admin and the pre-nursery block, the main educational block, and auditorium block, and a special cultural block. Every block has openings for better ventilation purposes. 2 entries have been provided. One is a main entry and a side entry, which has a special purpose of entry during any cultural or ceremonial gathering, which will not be affecting the other educational blocks. Going to the next one, these are some of the views of the areas: the parking area, the entry, the academic block, the auditorium, the admin block, the cultural block, and the fields. This is the detailed planning and section view of the admin and the pre-nursery block. It is the overlapping structure. The block has a circular and has a sloped roof connecting one block to another. A central courtyard is also there, and a pathway which connects the admin block to the main educational block. Next is the main educational block. It is the block where a central OET has been provided in the middle of the block for multi-purpose use. And there are many creative spaces like the sitting stairs and a semi-open library. And corridors have been provided with sitting spaces. This is the view and section and elevation. Going on to the next one. This is the cultural block of my school. This is block generally not included in primary schools, but having studied the culture and the tradition of the city, I tried to incorporate it in the design, for it will be helping in the exposure of their culture from a very young age. This block mainly has an exhibition and display area where local crafts can be exhibited, and a seminar halls is also provided to teach and have a discussion with the students regarding the craft and the tradition of the region. And an auditorium has been provided just adjacent to the cultural block. The ground floor of the auditorium is a semi-open gathering space which can be of multi-purpose use for lecturers or gatherings or any sort of functions. Next is these are the detailings, the construction detailings of the stairs, types of stairs, slab concrete stairs, dog-leg stairs. The staircase details have been provided, and doors detailings have been provided, which we had done in the academics of second year. And lastly, these are some of my artworks, which include oil painting and mostly of doodlings. And that's it. Thank you.
Nice presentation, 1, 2, 3. Now may I ask Shamla ma'am to give her inputs to 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I think you mentioned somewhere that the age group of the students is 3 to 10, right?
Yes.
So that's the age you have designed for that age group. So, so have you noticed? I mean, from the look of it, very interesting the way you have created the pages. It's very easy to understand what's in your mind, the way, you know, so your expression of your design is very good. Like it's very easy to understand what you have in mind and what, and therefore you projected it well. But now when you're saying that it's for 3 to 10, these are all little tiny tot kids. Okay, so don't you feel that a space like that, you know, you've designed some very magnificent spaces, but that could be very overwhelming for the kids. So I would have probably liked to see a little more, always keep the end user in mind, you know, how that kid would interact with your spaces, the spaces you designed for them. So, so that's I feel is a hallmark of any architect and designer, is to constantly keep your end user in mind, your client, your end user. Okay, sometimes your client might not be the end user, but it's most of the time, like if it's a hospital, you know, who is your end user? If it's a hotel, who's your end user? And now if it's a school, who is your end user and what's the age group? So to keep that little in mind, that happy space. Did you do any kind of case study before you took up this project? Did you
Yeah, a number of case studies were also done.
So did you find in any of them where they would have done some kind of the spaces where the tiny tots would have related to?
Yeah, yes.
You know, in terms of
Small
color, in terms of you know, heights, in terms of opening.
Yes.
You know, so on the whole, the design and like I said, the way you presented all that is great. But since you're only in the second year, so I just want you to keep that in mind, since you already have the quality of an architect, but just you keep the end user in mind, and I'm sure you will have some very happy customers, clients, whatever you want to call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shamsa, for your inputs. May I now request Himanshu sir to give your inputs? 1, 2, 3.
I could into what Sandra said. Yes, the scale of project and end user is primarily important. So instead of getting obsessed with a particular form and trying to create around that form, I don't see any interconnectivity between the different blocks that you created. So all we get to see is overlapping circular blocks in the center, and then there are routine building blocks which is going across the site. Apart from the scale, the proportion that you design for, there is a very important factor is the climatology. I understand you are still just in second year, but you have to keep in mind when you go beyond this, the climatology is a very important factor. So if you've done a case study, I hope the case studies were in your locality or with the same context. So shaded corridors and verandas which provide greater shade is also very important. So next time when you get on to designing, do keep in mind form follows function, a very important and a very clear aspect of architecture. We should not get obsessed with forms just to create an attractive design. Right?
Yes.
Good presentation. Otherwise, all well.
Thank you.
I hope you have taken the jury comments very positively and you'll keep in mind for future. You may now leave the room. If I may ask 19 to just turn on your video and start your screen share.
Actually, my video is not working. Like host is stopped my video presentation. Can you start my video?
Any prompt?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
So a very good evening to all the respected jurors. all the respected jurors. Today I'm here to present my work of second year architecture college. I believe that architecture is not a profession, it is a way of life. Serving people with enriched culture, tradition, and giving a sense of belonging to them should be a major call for an architect. Here comes the one of the major subject, urban design studio. In this project, a vacation residence was to be designed for our family. The site chosen was at Galle, Sri Lanka. The diagrams depicts the microanalysis of immediate context and the climate. The core idea behind this was to blend the nature with design by enhancing it with Sri Lankan culture. The conceptual spaces gives a glimpses of natural elements that are incorporated within the built mass that gives a dramatic experience. The process depicts how the site is segregated into open courtyards and built up mass. The massing shows the transparency created through the houses to get visual connected with the ocean. This 3D section shows the transparency throughout the design and visual connection with the ocean. So here are the floor plans and various sections in which it throws the light on some thoughts that were considered. The three major decisions were taken into the consideration. The parking that responds well to urban context by not disturbing the main road. The dining area, which plays a major role in Indian houses, was connected with the nature from all the sides. It became a central core of the houses. Here the Sri Lankan paintings kept on the ceiling to reflect rich culture. The temple area is designed in such a way that it weaves the Indian and Sri Lankan culture. The entrance porch is dramatically designed with the play of sunlight and shadow, which gives a sense of direction. The existing rocks were included into the landscape. It was an approach towards minimalistic landscape. Concluding the subject, I built an understanding that how culture evolves from the nature. And the next subject is elective of advanced graphic. In the brief was to create a story book for children of 6 to 10 years age group, which should develop the understanding of architecture. Evolution of architecture become an approachable way for a child to understand that what architecture revolves around. A character named Puchku start his journey by witnessing a bird building a house. He took up inspiration from her and started exploring for his own house. Then he started evolving his house for a better lifestyle. Later, when he entered into the cave, he started observing the climatically. Puchku started living a stable life with his family under a weather protective shelter. He then got equipped with the tools and got adapted by creating huge structures. Later, modernization came into the picture and Puchku started building high rises and modern buildings. From this story, named Puchku's Exploration, a child will understand that architecture is not only a building block, but it is all about a betterment of lifestyle. The next subject is Basic Design Studio. This subject focused on material exploration, in which we were told to study the properties of the same. There are some images showing the process of model making and properties, which were explored during the process. Stage 2 includes the functionality given to the form derived. I played with human scale and proportion, as well as the volumes, which are shown in the images. Stage 3 was a concluding exercise of the subject. On the basis of material and form understanding, a structure with a conceptual base should be created, serving a beneficial purpose to the future. Creating a hypothetical situation of Earth being infeasible for the people. So the base idea evolves from the thought was to create a shelter where human life can survive, rather than accommodating a one family at a place, allotting a space where multiple families can gather, and this kind of development of terrain was the core idea. From this idea, I try to create such terrains which remain segregated from the nature. This conceptual base idea called as terraformation. Hence, I understood from this process that a bright future will also need a healthy nature. The next subject is a social design studio. So in this subject, we were briefed that incremental housing for the people of Sabarmati Ashram located at Ahmedabad was to be designed looking into the issues faced by them. Later, I studied the history and condition of the site, from which I derived some major issue faced by them and also some concerns and consideration catering them. In this typology, we were given an extended area of 6 by 6 meter. This was designed in such a way that open space are interlinked with the two adjacent units. Space needed to adaptive in such a small houses to accommodate more function. Hence, to implement this, I use foldable doors and panels to adapt the more functional spaces. This shows the different opportunities for incremental housing units. These units of typology 2 are facing the main road, which has an extended area of 5 meter by 6 meter. Hence, I had tried to give an opportunity for the shops. Due to provision of shops and constraint of spaces, an upper floor needed to be designed. So these are some variation of typology 2. Any type of module can be adapted as a future expansion by the family, which can make the elevation playful, responding to the main road. These units of typology 3 were provided area of 6 meter by 6 meter in front area of existing units. The open space in front part is designed in such a way that it shows the hierarchy before entering the house. There are a variation showing a typology 3. This building component shows the construction of extended bedroom as well as kitchen and in each typology. The placements of toilet ducts was done in such a way that it shared a common space to minimize the usage of area. After giving a housing units, the people it is after giving a housing units to the people, it was an important part to give a space where people can interact with each other. Hence, the community spaces are my thoughts towards community gathering. It includes the space like Sanyukt, Vihara, Clock Tower, Chabutra, Udyogshal and Kirtan Mandir. The Vihara, Clock Tower and Gazebo are inspired from the Gandhian philosophy. The central space has a spine which reflects the elements of Gandhian philosophy like Clock Tower as a samai, a central gazebo as a discussion point or gathering point. And the last Chabutra is a Jivdaya. And the open space is designed for festival and celebration or any other social gatherings. These are the elements within the site for cultural gatherings like a Kirtan Mandir, Dhyan Mandir, and open spaces and seating elements. Then these are the 3D views and the public activity. Concluding this, I understood that somehow architecture affects the lifestyle. Now, architecture is a field where art plays an important role to showcase your ideas, views, and experience. These are some portraits I did digitally in my past years. Uh, these are some graphics and paintings and other rangolis which I did. And these are some scribbles which I did during my lectures or free time. And then this is a wall painting which I did at my college. Then there are some paintings I did using different medias. That's it from all my side. Thank you.
Well on time, 19. So may I ask architect Himanshu to just go in first and give his inputs? Or maybe ask questions.
I feel 19 is very good with his sketching and his creative ideas and doodling a lot of things. I really love the presentation on that part. Very good, good job. So when you're doing, I really love this idea that different typologies and the flexibility that it gives the user to adapt to their requirements. There's just one aspect. Yeah. You want to say something?
Sorry. Yes, sir. You are not audible properly. Actually, your voice is cracking.
Okay, I just appreciated your design idea and the way you adopted to the brief that was the different typologies that can be adopted by individuals as per their requirement and need. That is a very good aspect to it. Just want to add on one more thing that when you are designing in today's time, when you're designing residential units in these days, howsoever, whatever category that you may design, you should always keep in mind the motorable access, the streets that you give across the houses, and accommodation for their vehicles to their units. Otherwise, what happens is you go to any sort of segment of housing, EWS housing, go check out EWS housings or slum redevelopments, right? So even in these small segment of houses, you see a lot of motor vehicles parked randomly haywire, and they then end up creating a mess. So a very ideological sort of a setting that architects plan, we miss out on these critical aspects, and then it doesn't look aesthetically well.
Yeah. Yes.
Good job,
Truly
though.
agree with
Good
that.
job. Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Over to you, ma'am.
So good work. I mean, what I like is about his consistency in all that he has done. It's a single language. You know that there is one mind that is going through all the sheets. I especially liked your house in Sri Lanka. Any reason why you've chosen Sri Lanka? Are you from there or?
No, ma'am. Actually, that was site which was given by our faculty members.
Okay. So it's very nice to see that you have started from trying to understand the climatology and of course the ethos and of course they are not very different from our tropical region. So what should I say? I think it's very good. I mean, I won't go on praising him. I liked all the sheets and I honor your work.
Thank you, ma'am.
So nice work, 19. I hope you got the apt feedback from the jury members. Now you may leave the meeting. And I would like to call upon 318 now, the last presentation of the day and the last presentation of the second year category also. So all the best.
Good evening, everyone. Can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
So a very good evening to the honorable jurors and everyone present. I am here to showcase my second year journey through architecture. I've always been told that I hold a great deal of understanding towards art and the creative world, but not until I started studying it did I realize that there might be truths to that assumption. Art brought up a different person out of me, maybe a different personality, and today I am here being recognized for it. When I look back at my second year's work, I realized that how much of imagination I had brought forth and how persuasive I was when it came to my design. I still remember how I introduced myself to this world of architecture. There was a story behind it. I was painting a still life project in school, and I remember being mesmerized by this ray of light falling on the subject so perfectly when we were painting it that I thought, if that can be created from a broken part of a wall, what can be done intentionally? What beauty can be made? And more that I thought of it, I realized whenever and whatever that I was studying was leading me up to that. All my life, I was studying architecture in a two-dimensional world. Architecture to me is letting people in a three-dimensional world of art having to experience it not only by sight, but by all senses. Architecture is a tool for me to let everyone into my mind and its works. A space where you can make art real is architecture. For our third semester design, we had a manual project to design a highway restaurant for 200 users. This project was the first one where we were able to experiment with the form because the brief demanded it. It was a 3,199 square meter site, and the restaurant was for the travelers of NH71, which falls in between Hyderabad and Tirupati. My design process started when I did my case studies to understand the needs of such travelers. I developed a relationship between the wormhole in space to our world. A wormhole essentially is a tunnel with two ends which connect two separate points in space-time. It is based on Einstein's field equations. This tunnel I interpreted as the part between Hyderabad and Tirupati, and at the throat of the wormhole would sit the restaurant which I created. The design development started as a 2D form where I curved and like circular stuff. I tried to draw many things, and I created combination with respect to the function of the spaces as well as how appealing it is to the eye, even if we cannot really see the plan of any structure. I wanted to design this restaurant in a way where the structure wouldn't be sitting in one corner of the site, but I wanted the site to feel as though it is a part of the design. And I first came up with a simple dome and then tried to arrange other spaces. When I did this, I observed two things. The spaces looked very disconnected from each other. And second, I didn't have a definite entry point to the site. So I created this arch that would solve both the problems and give the building a better look. The dome has two parts: a semi-open dining, which can accommodate up to 100 customers, and then closed dining, which can also accommodate 100 customers. The kitchen is located in the corner where it is easy for serving food to the main diner and for the staff, along with the service door dealing directly to it. The admin is located where it has a visual to the main diner as well as the staff accommodation. The shops and public washrooms, along with 2 baby feeding rooms, are provided at the top left of the site because it has a direct view from the arch. The location of the site gave the opportunity to create this dome to replicate the monumentality of the 7 hills of Tirupati. The size of this dome will also help locating the restaurant on the fast pace of the highway to create interest to new visitors. These are the 3D renders that I started making for the highway restaurant, and these are the real life models that I made for it. Coming to the 4th semester design, we were to design a luxury level apartments with 42 BHK and 23 BHK. The site of 1.6 acres is located at the heart of the technological hub of Hyderabad, High-Tech City. When I did my case studies, I came to a conclusion that the area might be a little less for a luxury level of apartments. So I took it upon as a challenge and created the Wavepoint apartments. This apartment design is the perfect fusion between function and design. Each space is integrated with the most it can accommodate. The concept revolved around the history of Hyderabad and how the traditional style of Nizams was taken over by the contemporary architecture and how I tried to blend it both into coexistence. The wave of contemporary architecture that took over the traditional meet at a point. The central area of the site forms the heart of the structure, where I provided a clubhouse, a gym, a pool, and a children's pool, the deck for the pools and restrooms for them. An amphitheater with a screen where the projector can sit behind in the clubhouse perfectly. On the stilt level, the security room, parking, and there's also parking in the basement level. The planning of the apartments is done in a very particular way. Nowadays, amid the pandemic, one-to-one human interaction is radically reduced. And I believe that as humans, we have the ability to understand, support each other, and also to uplift each other. So creating a space where we can spend time with ourselves as well as with others with this kind of ease was the main thought that provoked me into designing this apartments. Going into the apartment planning, I made sure to provide a drawing room for each apartment to restrict unnecessary hustle into the main parts of the house. Each apartment consists of a living room, dining, utility and storage, kitchen with a circular counter, because I found that the circular shape of the counter is very inviting and also gives the kitchen a bigger feel. A connection into the balcony with plantations, dining, and barbecue. Every apartment is provided with a multi-purpose room, which I staged as an office. And the bedrooms are attached with dressing areas and washrooms. Some even have a balcony. Each plan within itself is zoned in such a way that all the public spaces are separated from the private one. And this was my basic aim to do so. Coming to the other subjects, I did some elevations and sections for this. These are the external views. And this is a preview for the internal. These are my internal renders for 3 BHK apartment details. This is my building construction works, which I try to show draft, like how I draft my sheets. And we had to design a staircase, and I chose an art gallery to showcase my staircase in, where in plan you can see it as a wave, and in elevation you can see it as a bird, which I thought would fit perfectly for an art gallery. This is landscape design, where we were given the liberty to design it for our own house and extend the boundaries of the house. So this is what I came up with. This is building services, where we learned about the drainage system, the water supply systems, and this is of my own house. I studied it and we made a manual model out of it. Coming to my extracurricular works, as I was studying art since before I came into architecture, due to the COVID situation, it affected all of us and I didn't want it to make me lazy. So I tried to do some realistic sketches. I tried to do still life sketches. And from what it was to what it is, it's like this, you can see it. And these are some of my more sketches for architectural works, and I tried to create digital work of my manual sketches also. Here also for portraits also I have created some of my manual works into digital rendering. And to showcase my talent for 3D rendering and software, since I learned it during COVID, I would like to show a video if I can show it. If someone can confirm if I can show it.
You just have 2 minutes. You can use.
Yes, thank you. This is the video. So first you're going to see my highway restaurant and how I started learning software and how it helped me really make another person understand what's going on in my mind. So this was the project for the third semester design. This was the internal dining and the overall. Next, you're going to see my apartment design. I tried to incorporate more nighttime views too, because I tried to learn all that newly. This is my clubhouse. This is the clubhouse. This is the gym. And on top, you will observe a cafe seating and a plantations deck. This is my 3 BHK room, which I tried to make some interiors. This was the balcony connected to the kitchen. This is the circular kitchen. And leading up to the private spaces, the office, and the bedrooms. Lastly, I would like to thank Ethos and the respected jury members to be patient enough to listen to my presentation, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, 318. You completed just in time. So now may I request Shamla ma'am to just go ahead, give her feedback, or maybe ask some questions.
Well, I can see that, all you kids are like, you students are so good with software, so amazing by creating all those spaces. So the only thing what I'm going to tell you is that since you have now acquired all those skills, I think you need to go back to basics kind of a thing in terms of try to understand weather conditions, see which place you're designing, what structure, go more towards sustainable architecture, So place like Hyderabad or, all these places, India more or less is held during summer. That
Yes,
much of glass, creates a lot of discomfort, or you put too much of load on air conditioning. So I think get your heart into all those things. It's very important. The future is going to be all about being sustainable, creating architecture which is going to help mankind basically, so that is something which is very important. And now that you know that, you have the tools, the software, and the mind to create magnificent spaces, like I said. So there you don't have to worry. So get into this space of understanding who you're designing it for, what are the weather conditions, what are the circumstances that you're designing for and your clientele, then it's sooner or later it's going to be a win-win if you get that. Otherwise, I mean, it's only a competition, but then eventually this is going to be your profession. This is what you're going to do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. May I ask Himanshu sir to?
I totally agree with Shamla on this. First of all, 318, full marks for your efforts, for your enthusiasm.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
But yes, this is, you just begin on the path to becoming an architect, to becoming a professional. You should be focusing a lot, rather not just you, your backers, you should tell your backers, your teachers, your faculty also. The core essence of architecture, we are missing out a lot on that.
Yes.
We are more focused towards our presentations. We are more focused towards on 3D views and renderings and all those things. Rather, we are missing out and talking about, the climate context or the good principles of designs. So we really need to focus more on that. So I have a small suggestion for you on that part. Rather, you could share that same with all of your batchmates, which we
Yes,
were
sir.
also taught in our initial years. Be a good observer. To be a good architect, you have to be, observant 100% whenever you go out. You walk on the street, you go to your college, you come back home. Observe every single aspect of surroundings around you,
Yes,
be
sir.
it a good design, be it a bad design, and try and criticize every single thing that you see. Right? So that
Yes,
would
sir.
really teach you a lot. Right? All the
Thank you,
best.
sir. Thank you, sir. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks, 318. You can leave the meeting now. Team NASA, we can, I think, stop the live broadcast so that we can have the jury deliberation in private. Let us know when you're ready and the broadcast has stopped.
Nikita, can't hear you very clearly.
Okay. Yeah, I was just requesting Devanshi to stop the broadcast, then we can have the deliberation, which is not going out live.
Divanshi, you're here?
Team NASA?
Yes, we are here with topic.
All right.
Great. मैं निकालता हूँ, इसमें ऑन कर दो, इसमें ऑन कर दो।